The board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Present.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan.
Here.
Alderman Balmer.
Present.
Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Sanye.
Present.
Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Browning.
Present.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys.
Here.
Alderwoman Tyus.
Present.
Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Aldridge. President Green.
Present.
Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Boyd. 11 present. You have quorum.
A quorum being present will be led in opening reflection and prayer by Paisha Anderson with the St. Louis Poetry Center. Come on up. Perfect timing.
Pardon me. I literally just got here. Give me one moment. May I have permission from my elders to speak? Thank you. There is an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Together, together, together. As we gather, let us remember it is the infinite atoms that gather, then scatter, that bond together to make life matter. It is the chatter created when layers of noise are circulated through frequencies of waves and speed. From single peeps we form blended speech. Let us speak. Let us remember that we go far when we go together. As we gather, let us acknowledge our accomplishments, the thousands of years predating this continent, the building of civilizations that were harmonious in their formation before the prominence of the concept of dominance, of the history of violence and all of its consequence, the ruining of communities, the leveling of legacies, the imposition on traditions, the attempted erasure of innocence. And while together, let us not forget those upon whose shoulders we now stand, those who resisted, those who fought, legislated, died, and planned, those tacticians with vision who circulated those petitions, who built coalitions to bring justice to fruition. As we gather, going far and not alone, let their names be the ones that rest upon our lips. Let their example be the archetype of how we courageously be that marvelous light, not as walking great mistakes, but as vessels of healing, leaving liberation in our wake. Together, yes, as we gather, each bearing the weight of our own stories, for we are all a collection of pasts, of circumstances gathered, of lifetimes whose lifeline threads our histories together, for we are all that we have been, and at once none of it anymore. For we are reborn every second that we accept, that we transform through breath and through rest and through test and through quest, with open hands of prayer and praise. We as fluid as water, us as limitless as sky, as ground in as the ground is. We are grounded, rooted together in this community, gathering in love, in strength, in empathy, as the warmth of grandmother's hands rub sickness from our bodies, as the light in our children's eyes connects us to the light behind our own, as the rhythm in our souls dances down that which was designed to break us, as we gather together in love, in empathy, in unity, in community, gathered here together. Thank you so much.
Please dispense with line item 4. Any introduction of honored guests? Any introduction of honored guests?
I have to stand because I'm at the children's table.
Alderwoman from the 11th.
So my honored guest, first of all, Dave Sweeney, you gotta show us the pants. Additionally, I met a young man as I was walking in with Slate, and I shared with him a story about my first job was through Slate when I was 14. That first job allowed me to buy the first brand new coat I had ever had. That every coat I'd had up until that point had been my older sister's Brenda. It was her coat that got passed down to me. So I have been working ever since. I love working. I probably will never retire. And I want to encourage you all to be infused with the love of working, for everything that you have, everything that you achieve comes through work. So welcome, Slate. Glad to have you here.
Further introduction of honored guests. Alderwoman from the 7th.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to have Pasha, who just gave us our poetry. She'll be my honored guest today. She is an esteemed constituent of the 7th Ward and so active in community. So I was so excited when I saw her, and it just would be right to be her Alderwoman and not have her as my special guest today.
Any further introduction of honored guests? Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Also, as my honored guest, I would like to recognize Slate, as well as all the young people in the room at Youth Build and all the great work that y'all are doing. Thank y'all for being here, and thank y'all for continuing to be a bright, shining light in the city of St. Louis for our young people here, so thank you all.
Any further introduction of honored guests? Any further introduction of honored guests? Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the approval of the minutes from Friday, September 15th, 2023.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we approve the minutes from Friday, September 15th, 2023.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 5th, that we approve the minutes from Friday, September 15th, 2023. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in A, B, and C of the agenda and has been placed in the Google Drive for your review. Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individuals for appointment to the Cherokee Street Community Improvement District. The reappointment of Ashley Woods Malone, the reappointment of Jason Deem, the reappointment of Katie Barres, the reappointment of William Lieberman, and the appointment of Nicholas Oberfrank. I respectfully request your approval of the appointment. Sincerely, Tashara O. Jones, Mayor.
Alderwoman from the 7th, you are recognized on Mayor Jones' appointments to the Cherokee Street Community Improvement District.
Madam President, I move that we approve the mayor's appointments to the Cherokee Street Community Improvement District.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 7th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we approve the mayor's appointments to the Cherokee Street Community Improvement District. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Does anyone wish to take any bills or resolutions off of any of our informal calendars? Does anyone wish to take any bills or resolutions off of any of our informal calendars? Does anyone wish to take any bills or resolutions off of any of our informal calendars? We can dispense with line items 8, 9, 10, 11. First reading of board bills.
Board Bill 96, sponsored by Alderwoman Boyd and President Green, an ordinance creating the offense of unlawful discharge of a firearm when allowed under state law with penalty provisions. Board Bill number 97, not used this session. Board Bill 98, sponsored by Alderwoman Boyd, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing the Department of Health to accept a 5-year opioid data to action grant award up to $103,292 from the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 99, introduced by Alderwoman Boyd, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment authorizing the Department of Health to accept a public health infrastructure grant award up to $621,818 from the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 100, sponsored by Alderwoman Spencer, pursuant to ordinance number 70333, as amended by ordinance number 71394, and ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic at 60 locations within the city's Soulard neighborhood. Board Bill 101, sponsored by Alderwoman Sanye and President Green, an ordinance empowering tenants to live in a safe, habitable spaces by clarifying the right for tenants to pursue eligible repairs for their residential unit in the absence of property owner or landlord action, with certain limitations, and containing a severability clause, an effective date clause depending upon the restored authority of the city to regulate a tenant's right to pursue repairs. Board Bill 102, sponsored by Alderman Aldridge, pursuant to ordinance number 70333, as amended by ordinance number 71394, and ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic on certain blocks in the 14th Ward. Board Bill 103, sponsored by Alderman Browning and President Green, an ordinance amending Chapter 11.105 of the City of St. Louis Code titled Residential Landlord-Tenant Relations Evictions to require good cause for residential evictions, containing a severability clause and an effective date. Board Bill 104, sponsored by Alderwoman Velazquez and President Green, an ordinance requiring employers to provide advance notice of schedules to employees, to pay employees for on-time call, and to pay for a time schedule in the event of late cancellation of shifts, providing for a new office to establish an employee complaint system, providing for penalties including fines, prohibiting retaliation against employees for reporting violations, providing for non-interference with collective bargaining agreements, providing authority for rules and regulations, establishing record retention requirements, containing the severability clause, and containing an effective date clause depending upon restored authority of the city to regulate terms of employment. Board Bill 105, sponsored by Alderman Cone and President Green, an ordinance relating to the traffic control, repealing ordinance number 66868, and establishing the Automated Camera Enforcement Act, authorizing installation of and contracts relating to one or more automated traffic control systems as defined herein, and establishing standards for prosecution of violations of traffic control ordinance detected by automated traffic control systems. Board Bill 106, sponsored by Alderman Cone and President Green, an ordinance establishing the Neighborhood Traffic Safety Improvement Fund and authorizing the appropriation of those funds to be used for certain projects to prevent traffic accidents and fatalities and improve traffic safety citywide, and requiring annual reports developed by the Street Department and presented to the Public Infrastructure and Utilities Committee regarding the expenditure of funds, and contain the severability clause. Board Bill 107, sponsored by Alderman Aldridge and President Green, an ordinance to prohibit the open carrying firearms in the city of St. Louis. Exceptions are made for law enforcement officers, including an effective date clause dependent upon restored authority of the city to regulate firearms. Board Bill 108, sponsored by Alderwoman Sanye, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan dated June 27, 2023 for the 2500 Ohio Avenue area. Board Bill 109, sponsored by Alderwoman Spencer, an ordinance to regulate employer and employee working relationships between the city of St. Louis and all employees under the medical examiner's office, including a compensation plan, terms and condition of employment, benefits, leaves of absence, and authorization for a deferred compensation plan. Repealing ordinance number 71510, allocating certain other employees to a grade with rate, and including an emergency clause. The provision of section containing this ordinance shall be effective with the start of the first pay period following approval by the mayor. That is the extent of first reading of board bills.
Reference to committee.
To the Public Safety Committee, Board Bill 96 and 107. To the Public Infrastructure and Utilities Committee, Board Bill 100, 102, 105, and 106. To the Health and Human Development Committee, Board Bill 98 and 99. To the HUD's Committee, Board Bill 101, 103, 108. To Transportation and Commerce Committee, Board Bill 104. And to the Budget Committee, 109. That's the extent of reference to committee.
Second reading and report of standing committees.
The following board bill was reported out of Health and Human Development. Board Bill 42, sponsored by Alderwoman Boyd, Alderman Balmer, and Alderwoman Sanye. An ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Department of Human Services on behalf of the City of St. Louis to accept the grant award from the Missouri Association of Area Agency on Aging in the amount of $95,000. MA4 will provide funds to the City of St. Louis, which are a federal COVID-19 and influenza vaccine uptake initiative for older adults and people with disabilities grant from the Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Community Living. The grant agreement period begins on March 22nd, 2023 and ends April 15th, 2024, appropriating said funds and authorizing the Director of the Department of Human Services upon approval by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment to expend such funds as permitted by the grant award and contain an emergency clause. The following board bill was reported out of Transportation and Commerce with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 88, sponsored by Alderman Cone, and ordinance recommended and approved by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the Director of Airports and the Comptroller of the City of St. Louis, owner and operator of the St. Louis Lambert International Airport, to enter into and execute on behalf of the city the ground lease development agreement for Brownlee and Northern Track Phase 1 and 2 at St. Louis Lambert International Airport between the City of St. Louis, Missouri, and the Boeing Company, which is attached hereto as Attachment 1 and made a part hereof, containing the severability clause. Board Bill 89, sponsored by Alderman Cone, an ordinance recommended and approved by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the Director of the Airports and the Comptroller of the City of St. Louis, owner and operator of St. Louis Lambert International Airport, to enter into and execute on behalf of the city the first amendment to the concession agreement with Avenco, which is attached hereto as Attachment 1 and made a part hereof, containing the severability clause. The following board bills was reported out of HUS with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 80, sponsored by Alderwoman Sanye, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan dated January the 24th, 2023 for the 3417 Louisiana Avenue area. The following board bills were reported out of Public Infrastructure and Utilities Committee with the due pass recommendation. Board Bill 92, sponsored by Alderman Oldenburg, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service to conditionally vacate above surface, and subsurface rights for vehicle, equestrian, and pedestrian travel in CD Block 5766 as bounded by Schomeyer, Macklin, and Loughborough in the City of St. Louis, Missouri, as hereinafter described in accordance with Charter Authority and in conformity with Section 1.4 of Article 21 of the Charter, and imposing certain conditions on such vacation. Board Bill 94, sponsored by Alderwoman Schweitzer, an ordinance pursuant to ordinance number 70333, as amended by ordinance number 71394, directs the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic in the 56 and 5700 blocks of Dewey Avenue. That's the extent of second reading report of standing committees.
Alderman from the 3rd, you're recognized on the motion to suspend the rules for the purposes of moving board bills number 88 and 42 to the perfection consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we suspend the rules for the purposes of moving Board Bills 42 and Board Bill 88 to the perfection consent calendar.
Second. It's been moved by the Alderman from the 3rd, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 10th, that we suspend the rules for the purposes of moving Board Bills number 42 and 88 to the perfection consent calendar. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone.
Aye.
Alderman Orion.
Aye.
Alderman Balmer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Sanye.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Browning.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Aldridge.
Aye.
President Green.
Aye.
Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Wolf.
She said aye.
Thank you. Alderwoman Boyd. 14 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the Alderwoman the Alderman from the 3rd, to suspend the rules to the purposes of moving Board Bills number 42 and 88 to the perfection consent calendar. Madam Clerk, please move those bills.
So noted.
Board Bills for perfection consent.
Board Bill 42, sponsored by Alderwoman Boyd, Alderman Ballmer and Alderwoman Sanye, an ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of the Department of Human Services on behalf of the City of St. Louis to accept a grant award from the Missouri Association of Area Agency on Aging in the amount of $95,000. MA4 will provide funds to the City of St. Louis, which are a federal COVID-19 and influenza vaccine uptake initiative for older adults and people with disability grant from the Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Community Living. The grant period begins March 22nd, 2023 and ends April 15th, 2024. Appropriating said funds and authorizing the Director of the Department of Human Services upon approval of the Board of Estimate and Apportionment to expend such funds as permitted by the grant award and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 88, sponsored by Alderman Cone, an ordinance recommended and approved by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the Director of the Airports and the Comptroller of the City of St. Louis, owner and operator of St. Louis Lambert International Airport, to enter into and execute on behalf of the city the ground lease and development agreement for Brownlee and Northern Track Phases 1 and 2 at St. Louis Lambert International Airport between the City of St. Louis, Missouri, and the Boeing Company, which is attached hereto as Attachment 1, and made part hereof containing the severability clause. That's the extent of Board Bills for Perfection consent calendar.
It's Alderwoman from the 10th. You are recognized on the motion to adopt the board bills from the perfection consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we adopt the board bills for perfection consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we adopt the board bills for the perfection consent calendar. Is there any discussion? Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor of Board Bill 42.
Madam Clerk, please make note of that.
So noted.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Ryan.
Aye.
Alderman Ballmer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Sanye.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Browning.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Aldridge.
Aye.
President Green.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd. 14 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the Alderwoman from the 10th to approve the board bills on the perfection consent calendar. Board bills for perfection.
We have none.
Report of engrossment.
We have none.
Third read and finally passage of board bills consent.
We have none.
Third reading and final passage of board bills.
We have none.
Report of finally passed and signed by the President.
We have none.
Please dispense with line items 16B through 19. First reading of resolutions and reference to committees.
Resolution 106, sponsored by Alderwoman Schweitzer, President Green, and the following alderpersons: Narayan, Sanye, Boyd, Keys, Browning, Velazquez, Clark Hubbard. Support of the strike members of the United Auto Workers Union, urging General Motors, Ford, Stellantis to negotiate in good faith and act swiftly in an agreement.
Alderwoman from the 1st, you're recognized on the first reading of resolution number 106.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I request unanimous consent.
Hearing no objection, you may proceed.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, can you please read the resolution?
Resolution 106, support of the striking members of the United Auto Workers Union, urging General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis to negotiate in good faith and act swiftly in an agreement. Whereas the United Automobile, Aerospace, and Agriculture Implant Workers of America enter into a collective bargain negotiation with General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis in July of this year after U.S. taxpayers who bailed out the auto industry in 2008 amidst the recession with nearly $80 billion were met with increased auto prices, soaring executive compensation, and corporate greed. Whereas the UAW has remained steady in their demands and have been met with unfair deals despite a president of union working in good faith with the manufacturers during economic downturns. And whereas on the 15th of September 2023, the UAW officially began their strike amid negotiation with GM, Ford, and Stellantis. Whereas GM, Ford, and Stellantis previously announced record profits and unprecedented pay increase for corporate leaders while leaving the workers who created these profits behind. And whereas auto workers deserve fair compensation and work conditions have been met time again with unfair offers by all three auto manufacturers. Whereas an estimated 12,700 UAW members are striking in a coordinated labor action at three auto manufacturer plants, and approximately 150,000 UAW workers had their service contract expired on the 14th of September 2023 due to inaction of the auto manufacturers GM, Ford, and Stellantis to negotiate in good faith. Whereas a swift and just resolution will benefit approximately 150 auto workers. Now therefore let it be resolved by this Honorable Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis that the Board of Aldermen supports the unionized auto workers and the union leaders of UAW in their negotiation for fair compensation and desirable work conditions, and the Board of Aldermen urges the auto manufacturers GM, Ford, and Stellantis to negotiate in good faith and reach a swift and just resolution with the United Auto Workers Union. We further direct the Clerk of the Board of Aldermen to spread a copy of this resolution across the minutes of the proceedings and prepare a commemorative copy to the end that it may be presented to the honoree at a time and place deemed appropriate by the sponsor. Introduced this 22nd day of September by the Honorable Annie Schweitzer, Alderwoman of the 1st Ward, and the co-sponsors are as follows. Honorable Megan E. Green, Brett Narayan, Alicia Sanye, Pamela Boyd, Laura Keys, and Michael Browning.
Alderwomen from the 1st, you're recognized on the motion to I think there's going to be a motion to make it in bank.
Okay, and at that point, I also have a point of order. I support the thing, but I don't want any conflict. Almost all my family is UAW, so I just wanted to say that before you put my name on it, okay?
Alderwoman from the 1st, you're recognized on the motion to adopt resolution number 106.
Thank you so much. I move to adopt Resolution 106.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 1st, seconded by the Alderman from the 5th, that we adopt resolution number 106. Alderwoman, you may proceed.
Thank you so much. So as Madam Clerk read, this resolution is in support of the UAW that is working hard to get fair compensation for their workers. When we think about record profits that corporations are getting, it is completely absurd to think that that would not pass on to the workers who are actually responsible for doing this work. And when boards like us, when bodies like us are silent on this, it encourages corporations to continue those practices. So I think it's incumbent upon us to stand up for the workers, working people, whenever we possibly can. I know several of us went to the strike lines, picket lines on Sunday night, and I know more will be going this weekend, Sunday at 3 p.m. Congresswoman Bush and Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez will also be there, which is just incredible and awesome. So I would hope that we could also make this resolution in bank. If I can make the motion now, or I move to make this resolution number 106 in bank.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 1st, seconded by the Alderman from the 5th, that we make resolution number 106 in bank. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Alderwoman, you may proceed.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone signing on to this. I know it'll mean a lot. We'll bring this resolution on Sunday to the striking workers, and I think it'll mean a lot to them to know that all of us are standing behind them. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the
12th. As I said before, I didn't put my name on this because I wanted to disclose that my family has been involved with UAW since I can remember. I grew up in Decatur, Illinois, where they used to have 25 factories, and most of my family works for a company that is associated with the UAW. My mother is a longtime member, as it was my father and stepfather. As long as I can remember, I have been on the picket lines. I don't know not being on the picket lines, because during those times, they took your kids too, so we were out on the picket lines with the parents, okay? And we had our little signs and we were walking too. So I know the good that unions can do. I'm a product of that. My parents were not wealthy and came from farming families, but because they worked in factories, I was able to enjoy a very upper middle class life. I was able to go to college, go to law school, get my teeth fixed, vision. Parents had opportunity to work 8 hours and then overtime after 8 hours and then double time if you worked on Sundays and holidays. And sometimes people forget how much unions have done over the years. They don't remember that because they haven't experienced it. They've enjoyed it all their lives. And there's been a decline in unions over the years, and that's because people start to take for granted things that people worked hard for, the people that went before them. They take that for granted and think it's always going to be that way. It will not if you do not keep your eye on the ball, and if you're not supportive of things like this. And that is why I am very supportive of this and thankful that my parents were able to change their lives in 2 generations. Me and my cousins are a whole different generation from my grandparents who barely scraped and could and were farmers, and they didn't even own their farms. And then my parents working in factories. And so anything that I could do to help the unions and to remind young people that the unions are very important, and I'm glad to see one of the young people here at our board understanding how important that is, because I said again, a lot of times people forget. And unions are why you have all the rights that you have now, because before that we had children working in factories, we had people that were getting hurt, we didn't have any rights, and there are still rights that we have to have. And one of the rights that is she spoke of, the Alderman from the first spoke of, is about that when CEOs make record profits and then they go, what, you want to make 5% more or 10% more? Well, I can't do that because I just got a 50% increase in my multi-million-dollar salary. I'm not saying CEOs are not important, they are, but so are the people that go to work every day. And if we didn't learn anything from the COVID thing that we went through, is that when people don't stock your shelves, when you can't get your supplies, those are all the people who are often union workers. Watch and see what happens. So we have to make sure that we remember how important this is. And I want to thank the sponsor for bringing this up and reminding people, her age group, maybe a little bit lower, and my age group, that unions are very important. And people getting paid their worth is also very important. I hope we hear that here at the city. We could listen to that. It's people at the city that need big raises, because we have a lot of people missing in action because we don't have enough workers. So not only do I support this resolution, but I support workers in general making a fair wage.
Any further discussion? Alderman from the 4th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I want to echo a lot of what my colleague from the 12th
21 of 12.
the 12th ward just said. It's great to see this board unite behind working people, and it looks like UAW's in this for the long haul. I know just as of this morning, they ratcheted things up, and on this resolution it says 3 auto manufacturing plants. As of this morning, they added 38 parts manufacturing plants. So they are in it to win it, certainly, and I think it's even more important that we make sure that we're supporting the striking workers. You know, one of the things that you get when you're a striking worker is strike pay, but that's $500 a week. It's a small portion of what their paycheck usually is. So if you do happen to go down to the picket lines, make sure that if you're able to, you bring some food, some drinks, things like that. Those folks are going to be standing out there in the cold and the rain and all that while this goes on, and they're going to need our support. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderman from the 14th and then okay, Alderwoman from the 13th.
Thank you. I just wanted to kind of piggyback on what other people are saying, but I don't know if people looked at the news. I think something that really touched my heart was when the union person from U.S. Steel said that he had men coming in his office crying, and they stated they didn't know how they were going to make it. And so, as my colleagues are saying, they're giving them union pay, but it's not gonna help them to survive and pay their house notes and pay their court notes. And so these CEOs of these companies need to understand you are hurting people's lives. And when they made comments that they weren't even making $12 an hour on some of these jobs, that's humiliating to me. Because we were always taught, and me from a union family, you go to the unions so you can make a living. So when the CEOs feel they don't need to pay people decent wages, that's embarrassing and humiliating. And so they need to take a stand with these people and listen to what they're asking for and give them what they need so they can just do the basics and take care of their family. That's all they're asking. Just let us take care of our family. So I agree with them, and I think it does need to be in bank, and we need to push forward to show big support for them as union workers. Thank you.
Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. I want to first thank the sponsor for bringing this bill up, and the rest of my colleagues for embanking this. I want to second everything the Alderwoman from the 12th Ward talking about just the importance of the unions and how they're such a backbone of our country. They, giving us the weekends. They fight for livable wages as well as the right to be able to unionize. I had a great time with some of my colleagues this past Sunday when we went out there and we stood with some of those workers and got to chant and walk down the picket line. It reminded me of my Fight for 15 days when we was out shutting down fast food restaurants, also saying no matter where you work, you should be able to make a livable wage. And right now we have these CEOs making record profits while these workers are not getting the same amount of money that they deserve. While they're making record profits, we need to ensure that these workers get a record contract where they have wages that they can support their family off of, benefits, things where they can not have to worry about living paycheck to paycheck. So to all the UAW workers out there that are taking that courageous effort to walk off the job, understanding that bills are steady coming in, that they got a family to feed, food still has to go on the table. I want them to know that we stand with them, we appreciate them. Anytime we can stand with them, we'll be out there. We'll be out there again this Sunday because when they strike, we strike. So thank you to all the workers out there.
Alderwoman from the 6th.
I just want to chime in and say that I definitely stand and support the UAW workers. I was out there with my colleagues on Sunday, and I will be out there again. And I encourage you, especially you young folk, to join us. We're coordinating that, and we'll get it out on social media. But I think there's another thing that's important to recognize too, and thank you, Alderwoman from the 12th, for sharing your experience, that these workers are really not just standing up for their rights, they're really standing up for all the workers across America and for worker pay, and I think that's something we should continue to recognize and support them. So thank you, and thank you to the Alderwoman from the 1st for this resolution.
Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 7th.
Much of it has already been said, so I want to stay brief. I just really wanted to go on record. When we got a chance to go this past Sunday, President Green, Alderman Aldridge, Alderwoman Schweitzer, Alderman Browning, Alderwoman Velasquez, and myself, and we got to go from gate to gate, and we got to, we thought about creating what we might call an energy caucus, because we were creating chants and just bringing some energy, and a lot of them just really wanted us to echo to anyone who can, if you're able to go out and show them support and show them some love, you should. They're standing out there for hours at a time on a day. There was someone out there with a child, someone out there with a baby, and so, I just got to see kind of some of the toll that it can take on them. So any of us that can, we should definitely get a chance to go. And I also wanted to just give a thank you to all of my colleagues. There's not many things that all of us unanimously stand on, but it really makes me so proud to serve with every single one of you all, that it seems like unions and standing for workers is something that we all agree on. So I just also want to thank you all for that.
Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 12th.
Yes, just a short thing. The Alderman from the 4th, okay. One of these years, we're going to get it, okay. Right, okay, so 24, now I got you, okay. He talked about that union workers need things. People will be surprised. It is important. My friend used to be a BA for the for the carpenters, and she had to create a food bank when the carpenters had a strike. So when he says bring things, if you could bring food, or if the union can tell you where you could donate, in order for the union to be successful, they have to not be able to break the strike. And the thing that makes the strike the hardest to stick to is when people can't feed their families. If you're used to making, let's just say $1,000 a week, and now you're making 500, or you're used to making 2,000, that's a big difference. You still got to make all your payments. So anything you can do, and we can find out of how to donate to the unions, be it food or money, besides just being out on the picket line, it is very important, the point he made. Nothing further.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 1st, seconded by the Alderman from the 5th, that we adopt resolution number 106. In bank, yes. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Point of inquiry.
Yes.
So I have a resolution that is on the consent calendar, but I want to address it and I want to speak to it, have it read. Do you prefer me to move that to the first reading of resolution, or leave it on the consent and then just address it there? I mean, the courtesy resolutions, and address it there.
Why don't you go ahead and move it to the first reading of resolutions?
Okay,
I'll recognize you on the motion.
Madam President, members of the board, I'd move that resolution 109 be moved to the first reading of resolutions.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 12th, seconded by the Alderman from the 5th, that we move resolution number, what was the number again? 109, to the first reading of resolutions. Is there any discussion? Alderwoman from the 6th?
Can I be added as a co-sponsor?
We can do that after we move it. Any discussion on the motion to move resolution 109? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So, Alderwoman from the 12th, you are recognized on resolution number 109.
Madam President, members of the board, I move for unanimous consent of resolution 109.
Hearing no objection, you may proceed.
Madam President and members of the board, resolution 109 is very important to me. Lane Tabernacle Church, CME Church, it seems like the things that I am addressing this week, or that's being addressed with the board, a lot of it has personal meaning to me. Growing up in Decatur, I grew up at Trinity CME Church, which was the sister church to Lane Tabernacle Church. So even though I didn't live in St. Louis, I came to this church all the time. It's now in the new 12th ward. And I've been meeting with the people, and what I like is that they're activists about things that are important in the community. One of the things that is very important in the community is that suicide, or attempted suicide. September is National Suicide Prevention Month, and that is very important. And thankfully, the church has started to have annual seminars and suicide awareness and preventions on what could be done. And I'd ask that the clerk read the resolution.
Resolution 109, recognizing Lane Tabernacle CME Church's second annual suicide prevention service. Whereas suicide attempts and completion is on the rise locally and nationally. And whereas September is National Suicide Prevention Month, and all month, mental health advocates, prevention organizations, survivors, allies, churches, and community members unite to promote suicide prevention and awareness. Whereas Lane Tabernacle CME Church will have its second annual suicide awareness and prevention service on Sunday, September the 24th, 2023 at 10 a.m. During this time, Lane Tabernacle Church hopes to share resources that are available to save lives and help citizens in times of crisis. And whereas Lane Tabernacles will have a united worship service regarding suicide awareness and prevention, in which their uplifting message will be speak life, be present, creating hope through Christ. And whereas research shows people who are having thoughts of suicide feel relief when someone asks after them in a caring way. And whereas Lane Tabernacle CME wants you to be reminded, if you know someone who is at immediate risk of suicide, call 911 right away. It can be difficult when someone you know expresses thoughts about suicide, but you can show support by doing the following. Talk. Your willingness to express your concern for the person in crisis can be the first step in getting that person help. Listen. Being an active listener is another way of reminding a person in crisis that they're not alone. remain present. Your physical and emotional presence in the person's life makes a difference. If you are worried about their safety, get help from a mental health professional immediately. Call or text 988. Last year, 988 was activated as a new 3-digit dialing code. When someone dials 988, they will be connected to existing National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. This confidential support line is available 24 hours a day to provide free help to people in suicidal crisis or mental health related distress. Whereas Lane Tabernacle wants you to be reminded, if you are struggling or in crisis, remember that there is hope and there are steps you can take to seek help and support. You can call or text 988. 988 serves as a universal entry point so that no matter where you live in the United States, you can reach a trained crisis counselor who can help. You can also use Employee Assistance Program and call 1-800-222-0364. And I'll repeat that number, 1-800-222-0364. Counselors are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to provide support, referrals, and information for emergency services. Whereas Lane Tabernacle CME wants you to be reminded that God is always present and available to those who are struggling or in crisis regarding suicide, or those who know someone who is at immediate risk for suicide. Now, therefore, let it be resolved, as suicide and attempted suicide is a most pressing issue in the city of St. Louis and nationally, that mental health advocates, prevention organizations, survivors, allies, churches, and community members united to promote suicide prevention awareness is the most important and notable collective effort that should be supported by this honorable board. That this esteemed board take a moment from its day-to-day business to encourage, support, and thank Lane Tabernacle CME Church for having its second annual suicide awareness and prevention service on Sunday, September 24th, 2023. Be it further resolved that the clerk of this honorable board of aldermen is instructed to prepare a properly inscribed copy of this resolution to be presented by the pastor and members of Lane Tabernacle CME Church at a time and place deemed appropriate by the sponsor. Introduced this 22nd day of September by the Honorable Sharon Tyus, Alderwoman of the 12th Ward.
Alderwoman from the 12th, you are recognized on the motion to adopt resolution number 109.
Madam President, I move to adopt Resolution 109.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 12th, seconded by the Alderman from the 5th, that we adopt resolution number 109. Alderwoman, you may proceed.
Madam President and members of the board, I renew my motion, and I want to remind you that suicide is a devastating thing to any family that has had someone in their family commit suicide, and a lot of times if you have a member of your school or church or organization, it is a devastating thing in which people question what happened, why I missed any kind of signs or anything like that. So although if it's completed, if it's not completed, it's still a devastating thing, because then you have to get into action of what should I do, how should I get help, and there are organizations out there that will help you. So please, or help somebody you think might need it, please use this information. Please, there's always going to be hardships in your life, but what you do and how you go about seeking to help people can make all the difference in the world.
Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 6th. Alderwoman from the 6th.
Are we moving on to do this in bank?
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to pass this in bank.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 6th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 12th, that we make resolution number 109 in bank. Any discussion? Seeing none, discussion on the in bank motion?
No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The discussion piece. Just on the in bank motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Alderwoman from the 14th. Or 13th. Looking at Rasheen and, yes, 13th.
I just wanted to make a comment, and I appreciate the sponsor that sponsored this bill, because I don't think that people understand the seriousness of it, because it's more youth that are committing suicide. And so my sister found her granddaughter hung in the closet, and she was only 13 years old. And so it's serious. It's really serious. And so mothers and fathers, hold your babies close, but make sure that you talk to them. Because when you don't talk to them, trust me, somebody is that's gonna take control and put them on a whole nother level. So can you imagine walking in a closet and your grandbaby is hanging from the ceiling? So I'm just asking people, and thank you, Alderwoman Tyus, for presenting this.
Any further discussion? Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. I also want to, from the bottom of my heart, really thank the Alderwoman from the 12th for bringing this forward. Back in, I'm a little young buck, but back in 2010 when I was in high school, I lost my best friend, Adante Fane Brown, to suicide. And it is one of them things that you sometimes don't know that, you know, people are struggling with. And especially as we talk about, it's a different time for young people, especially with social media and, you know, people getting bullied and sometimes not feeling comfortable to tell other folks about what is going on in their personal life. Just like Alderwoman Tyus said, his mother found him, you know, also hung in a closet when that happened. And it takes a toll on, you know, families and friends. And it's important to know that resources are out there and that people do care. So to the Alderwoman, I appreciate you for bringing it forward because it's an important issue that's not talked about as much. So thank you.
Alderman from the 3rd.
Thank you, Madam President. I too rise in support of this resolution, and I think this is an issue that doesn't get talked about nearly as enough as it should. You know, as someone, you know, who grew up in the, you know, not so distant past, before social media was, you know, everywhere, you often, as a young person, could feel isolated or siloed, and particularly those that grow up in the LGBTQ community. Suicide is very much a reality for a lot of people, and they struggle with that. I myself, you know, did have thoughts of self-harm growing up, and you never know. People can be from the most loving, open, supportive families, and you just don't know what's going on through someone's feelings and their thoughts. And I too have lost, you know, friends and have had, you know, extended family who have been in these situations, and it's just really something that often is below the surface. And you see people every day at work or in the neighborhood or, you know, even amongst your friends and family that might be having these thoughts, and it's okay to talk about them. I think that, you know, it's awesome that we're able to recognize this resolution and have this conversation, because it is okay to talk about those things, and it's important to talk about these things because oftentimes creating that space for people is what is needed in order to protect them and to help them. And so, Alderwoman, thank you for bringing this forward. I appreciate it very much, and I'm happy that we're passing this in bank. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 7th.
I wanted to also thank Alderwoman Tyus for sponsoring the bill. Before I was an alder, I worked as a mental health advocate, and honestly, just 2 weeks ago, I lost a really close friend to suicide, and she was being evicted, and she didn't tell anyone that she was going through that or reach out for any support, and didn't find out much until later. But even being on the Board of Education, going through a pandemic, seeing the things that, young people are going through. And even just to be honest, I don't even have to talk about loved ones. I've had my own struggles with mental health. I've had anxiety. I've been depressed before. It's very normal. I think a part of what has to happen is we have to understand, just like when you get a cold, you get a flu, at some point you're going to have some mental health challenges. And that doesn't mean that something is wrong with you. That doesn't mean that it's a, you know, you can reach out to therapy is okay. It could be normal. It doesn't have to be a crisis. Something could be off. If you're struggling for something, tell people about your hard times. Allow your community and people around you to support you, because sometimes the biggest issue is just the stigma, especially in certain parts of our communities. We think that if you say that you're struggling, something is wrong with you, or as a parent, you might feel like I'm not raising my child right. It doesn't mean any of that. It means that life is hard and that we are interconnected social species, and sometimes we need help. So I just hope that if someone is watching this or paying attention, that you see this as normal, that even leaders, I'm sure most of us have had our own struggles with those things, and that if you need help and you need support, that you can get it. And I also hope that we can, buffer up the mental health services that we have going on in our city, so that these things could be more universally acceptable, and you don't need private health insurance in order to access the mental health care support that you need. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 12th, seconded by the Alderman from the 5th, that we adopt resolution number 106. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Point of order is 109.
Oh, what did I say? 106? 109. That we adopt resolution number 109. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderwoman from the 6th.
I would like to move courtesy resolutions numbers 100 through 105 to the first reading of resolutions.
Second. It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 6th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we move resolutions number 101 through 105 to the first reading of resolutions.
100.
100 through 105 to the first reading of resolutions. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderwoman.
These resolutions are all part of an event that I'm co-hosting with the Court of Deeds on Tuesday in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month. So I won't ask for all the resolutions to be read, but the first one is just honoring the celebration. And then we actually have resolutions 101 through 105 are members of the Hispanic community that we will be honoring on Tuesday at City Hall. They're online, you can read them, my colleagues can read them. I appreciate Alderwoman Schweitzer and Alderwoman Saunier co-sponsoring some of these resolutions for folks who live in their ward. So I would like to ask.
We're gonna have to do them one by one, so.
Okay, sorry, so, that's it.
Request and bank for 100.
Request unanimous consent for resolution 100.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 6th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the, unanimous consent. You may proceed. I heard the second and I just got going.
And then I'd like to move for adoption of resolution 100.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 6th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we adopt resolution number 106.
I would like to move that we adopt resolution 101, make it in bank. What, resolution 100 in bank.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 6th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 10th, that we make resolution number 100 in bank. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderwoman, you are recognized on the motion to adopt.
I would like to move to adopt resolution 101. Wait, are we still doing 100?
100.
100.
It had been moved by she had already moved for it. So it's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 6th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we adopt resolution number 100. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderwoman from the 6th, you are recognized on resolution number 101.
I would like to move for unanimous consent for resolution 101.
Hearing no objection, you may proceed.
I would like to move for this resolution to be adopted in bank by the board.
Second.
It's been, there's a motion to make Resolution 101 in bank. It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 6th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Alderwoman, you are recognized on the motion to adopt.
And I would like to adopt Resolution 101.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 6th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we adopt Resolution number 101. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderwoman, you are recognized on Resolution number 102.
I'm going to try and make this as fast as I can. I move for unanimous consent for Resolution 102.
Hearing no objection, you may proceed.
I would like to move for this resolution to be adopted and banked by the board.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 6th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we make Resolution number 102 and bank. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderwoman, you're recognized on the motion to adopt.
I would now like to adopt Resolution 102.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 6th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we adopt Resolution number 102. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderwoman from the 6th, you are recognized on Resolution 103.
I would like to move for unanimous consent for Resolution 103.
Second.
You may proceed. Hearing no objection, you may proceed.
I would like to ask that Resolution 103 be adopted and banked by the board.
Second.
There's been a motion by the Alderwoman from the 6th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we make Resolution number 103 in bank. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderwoman from the 6th, you are recognized on the motion to adopt.
I move to adopt Resolution 103.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 6th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we adopt Resolution number 103. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderwoman from the 6th, you are recognized on Resolution number 104.
I move for unanimous consent for Resolution 104.
Hearing no objection, Alderwoman, you may proceed.
I would like to move that we adopt this resolution and bank.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 6th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we make Resolution number 104 in bank. 104. What did I say? 107? Can't read my own writing here. 104 in bank. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderwoman, you are recognized on the motion to adopt.
I move that we adopt Resolution 104.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 6th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we adopt Resolution number 104. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderwoman from the 6th, you're recognized on Resolution number 105.
I would like to request unanimous consent for Resolution 105.
Hearing no objection, Alderwoman, you may proceed.
I would like to move to adopt Resolution 105 in bank.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 6th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we make Resolution number 105 in bank. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderwoman from the 6th, you are recognized on the motion to adopt.
I move to adopt 105, Resolution
Second.
105.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 6th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we adopt Resolution number 105. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Wonderful.
Oh, Alderman from the 12th.
I think the reason that the Alderwoman moved all these resolutions, she wanted at least Resolution 100, but she had already made the motion. If we do a motion to reconsider, then she can have her resolution read, and I think that is very important, or else you can waive it and just read it, because I know she wants it read into the records.
Alderwoman from the 6th.
We can read Resolution 100. We're actually going to, because we're doing the ceremony on Tuesday honoring these folks, we're going to read those there.
So you don't want it read into the record? Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
And we'll continue with the agenda. Second reading of resolutions. Hold on. Yes, we did that. Okay, okay, that's what I thought.
You were right.
Second reading of resolutions.
Report from the Legislative Committee, the appointment and reappointment to the Mental Health Board, Janice Thomas, Maria Hayes Harris, Cassandra Pinkston, Robert Poirier, Vander Corliss, and Terrell Quarter.
Alderman from the 14th, you are recognized on Mayor Jones' appointments and reappointments to the Mental Health Board.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I'd like to make a motion to reappoint the members that was just read to the Mental Health Board.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 10th, Alderman from the 14th, seconded by the Alderman from the 10th, that we approve the appointments and reappointments from the mayor to the Mental Health Board. Is there any discussion? Alderwoman from the 12th.
And again, I'm going to be voting no. This is an ongoing thing. It's not personal against people. It's personal against not being represented. The Alderwoman from the 13th knows that the caucus even sent the mayor, the current mayor, a letter about appointments to the boards and commission and how people who lived north of Page were being left out of the appointments. When you do these continuing reappointments, you're leaving people out, and I will continue to oppose it. It is unfair. It is really, since the predominant amount of people who live north of Page are African American, it's also discriminatory against us. And so I cannot vote for these people because they do not live north of Page. And as I said, I'm finishing with my report, and it's going to be a map, and it's going to be a very ugly map. And I have the letters that I've wrote to her, and the only time that we were able to get the mayor, the current mayor, to nominate some other people is because she couldn't get her nominations through, and so she had to do some people from North St. Louis. But I think that is a shame that the mayor would take that position. And if she was doing it to South St. Louis, I would say the same thing if she's doing it to the Central Quarter. Our city is a complete city. And part of the problems that we're having now is because people have never dealt with the city as a complete city. They think if I just get mine, it'll be okay. And so these appointments to me are illegal, and they should not be done. So my no vote is not personal. My no vote is not being represented. And we have 4 older people who live north of Page, 3 or 4. Depending on where the 14th ward runs there, but it is not right to leave that many people out. And there are people who are perfectly able to do it. And when she listened, we submitted people who have been very good people, but she seems to just have an agenda of that she does not want to hear that we are supposed to be represented. This is a person who ran on being the first black female mayor of the city of St. Louis. And so the people who live in North St. Louis don't see representation. And it's my job to point that out over and over again, and I would do it. And if I was being nominated and I didn't live north of Page, I would decline the nomination because it is an unfair representation. I will be roll call.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? It's been moved by the Alderwoman or Alderman from the 14th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 10th, that we approve the Mayor Jones's appointments and reappointments to the Mental Health Board. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderman Balmer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Sanye.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Browning.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Keys.
No.
Alderwoman Tyus.
No.
Alderwoman Boyd.
No.
Alderman Aldridge.
Aye.
President Green.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. 11 aye votes and 3 no votes.
By your vote, you've sustained the motion from the Alderman from the 14th to approve Mayor Jones' appointments and reappointments to the Mental Health Board.
The appointment of Berlin Lily Seymour to the St. Louis Port Authority.
Alderman from the 9th, you're recognized on Mayor Jones' appointment of Berlin Lily Seymour to the St. Louis Port Authority.
Thank you. I move that we approve the mayor's appointment of Brillian Willie Seymour to the St. Louis Port Authority.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 9th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we approve the mayor's appointment to the St. Louis Port Authority. Any discussion? Alderwoman from the 12th.
I renew everything I said from the previous thing, and I would ask for a roll call, and if the other two ladies don't object, I would ask for previous roll.
There's been a request for previous roll,
Second.
or there's been a motion for previous roll. Who was the second? Woman from the 11th. It's been moved by the Alderwoman, sorry. It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 12th, seconded by the Alderwoman by the 11th, that we have previous roll here. Any discussion? Seeing none, motion passes. Courtesy resolutions. I'm waiting for Sherry to. Good. Okay. Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the motion to adopt the courtesy resolutions calendar.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we adopt the courtesy resolutions calendar.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we adopt the courtesy resolution calendar. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Miscellaneous and unfinished business.
We have none.
Can dispense with line item 23. Announcements.
Monday, September 25th, 2023, the Committee of the Whole will have a webinar at 6 p.m. Wednesday, September 27th, Public Infrastructure and the Utilities, and we'll have a joint committee with Public Safety. The webinar will be at 3:30 p.m. Thursday, September 28th, 2023, Personnel will have a webinar at 10 a.m. And then Friday, September 29th, Full Board Meeting, 1520 Market, second floor conference room at 10 a.m. That's the extent of the announcements.
Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 11th.
So I'd like to announce that tomorrow, Saturday, September 23rd, the 11th Ward will host Tire Amnesty Day. St. Louis, we have a real problem with tires, and this is just a jumping off point. We hope to sponsor more of these throughout the city to help get these tires that have been discarded illegally onto our streets and in our alleys and on our roadways. So if you bring a tire or tires, you can bring up to 5. This is so that we don't have tire purveyors to come and unload their whole shipment on us. You can bring up to 5 tires. While supplies last, you will receive a free gas gift card. So we definitely want to incentivize people to come out and get rid of those tires. Additionally, we have a tire retrieval team that will be out on the road. They are out there right now, but they'll continue to be out there tomorrow and in the days to come, picking up any derelict tires. This is a solvable problem. We just got to figure out how do we get this thing done. But please encourage your friends and neighbors. If you're passing by a tire, pick it up, bring it to one of the 3 locations. First location is at Grand and University. That lot there, the dumpster has been dropped there rather. Please do not drop tires before tomorrow. The next location is at Carter Avenue and Grand on that parking lot, and then the 3rd is at Marcus and Natural Bridge. So you're free to come and bring those tires, and like I said, you'll get a free gas gift card while supplies last. I want to put that disclaimer there, while supplies last. Thank you.
Alderman from the 9th.
Thank you. I just want to let everybody know that we'll be hosting the second 9th Ward Town Hall on October 19th. That'll also probably be the final one of 2023. We're going to be hosting it at Bar K. That's on McCree Avenue. It'll go from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. One of our guest speakers will be Circuit Attorney Gabe Gore. Looking forward to seeing all 9th Ward residents on October 19th.
Alderwoman from the 7th.
And bring your dogs if you can. I want to meet your dogs.
We all want to meet your dogs. Alderwoman from the 7th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. We had an excellent 7th Ward Town Hall on the 20th this past Wednesday. So I want to thank you all for always showing up and showing out. And I also want to thank Dr. Keisha Scarlett, who's the superintendent of St. Louis Public Schools, and President Cousins of the Board of Education for joining us. We had a robust conversation. People really liked getting to ask about education and getting to learn about some things. So thank you for everyone who attended, and thank you to Dr. Scarlett and President Cousins for attending as well.
Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 12th.
First of all, I want to thank the Alderman from the 11th about the tire pickup. That is a big problem in North St. Louis, and so I'm promising to donate some more gas cars because some of my constituents are going to use them. So I will donate. We will get together after that. But also at the same time, between 10 and noon on Saturday, the 12th Ward has 12 neighborhoods. By comparison, when I started, I had 3 neighborhoods. I think the Alderman from the 8th is the only other one that has like all these neighborhoods. It makes it almost impossible to have town hall meetings. We're only going to do that twice a year. So I travel around in every 2 neighborhoods I have meetings. We are having a Penrose meeting because it's a big, large neighborhood between 10 and 12. It used to be St. Engelberg's. It used to be St. Elizabeth. It's now St. Louis Catholic Academy. It's at 4720 Carter. It starts at 10 o'clock. The doors will be open about 9:30. We also have the 6th District Captain that will be there, Police Captain. We also have President Tony Cousins, who's coming to speak with us. And we're going to be talking about some of the issues that we're legislating before the Board of Aldermen. And it's more of a neighborhood meeting. Anybody is welcome to come, but we will be discussing Penrose. So as I've had these neighborhood meetings, other people follow, and then they want to talk about the Ville, or Greater Ville, or Kingsway East. I'm doing this because we have so many that people get us to have their own time to talk about their neighborhoods. And I wish we didn't have so many neighborhoods. I thought I was the only one had 12, then I looked and saw that the other one from 8 had 12, and it is hard, and you have a lot of different neighborhood. The neighborhood improvement specialist will also be there, Kristen Meyer. He is working with the other one from the 11th, so he's going to be running between 2 events. But we always have a good meeting at Penrose, and I look forward to the members, the residents of Penrose attending.
Any further announcements? Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. The 14th Ward will be having their 4th and probably also last town hall meeting next month, in joint with Alderwoman Keys of the 11th Ward, as well as St. Louis Police Association and JVL Association. It will be held October 5th from 5:30 to 7 o'clock at the firehouse located off of Jefferson and Cass. We'll be talking about a lot of legislative things that we're working on, but the main discussion will be about the blight redevelopment bill that encompass both my ward as well as Alderwoman Keys' ward. And then this Monday at 7 a.m., as we're talking about striking and people going out on strike, the National Nurses Association will be going out on strike at 7 a.m. this Monday on South Grand Boulevard. So if folks able to make it, please come on out 7 a.m. To make sure we support our nurses that have been taking care of us, especially during the pandemic. Thank you, Madam President.
Alderwoman from the 13th.
This thing kind of heavy. God. Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to make an announcement. We will have a 13th Ward meeting on Monday at 6 o'clock p.m. at Light of Jericho, and I'm with Alderwoman Tyus. I have to have meetings with neighborhoods because there's so many neighborhoods. I don't have the 12, but I do have 9. So it's kind of interesting. So when we have meetings, we target those neighborhoods. So our focus will be Hamilton Heights and Wells Goodfellow, which I am honored because they are so involved, and I love it to death because those residents are like sponges. They're ready to move things to the next level. We're gonna have a personnel department there that will be taking applications and making sure that people can apply for jobs. And then we'll have Archwell Health there, so they can help seniors in regards to the Medicare. We also have Athenia that will talk about the Medicaid expansion, and they're waiting to sign people up to get them on the rolls. So it will be at 5429 St. Louis Avenue at 6:00 p.m.
Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 6th.
I wanted to announce that I will be having a town hall on October 10th at Missouri School for the Blind from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Our focus will be on youth empowerment. Also, this Tuesday, as I previously mentioned, I will be co-hosting a meeting, a celebration, not a meeting, a celebration. There'll be food and fun celebration-like things with the Recorder of Deeds for Hispanic Heritage Month. That'll be from 6 to 8 p.m. at City Hall, free parking, free food. Did I say food? We'll be there. Also, September 27th, I'll be hosting the Young Democrats in the 6th Ward at Padrino's. And then Thursday, September 28th, there's a couple of things happening. One is at Cortex. It's the Hispanic Heritage Month presentation there from 4 to 7 p.m. You can hear from entrepreneurs, and I think they'll also have food. Did I mention food? I'm hungry. Another thing that's happening in the 6th Ward, the developers of the Fanning Middle School project, Screaming Eagle, are hosting a community meeting from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at Carpenter Library on South Grand. And then on Friday, the Hispanic Leaders Group is hosting their annual Premio Esperanza event, honoring Gabriela Ramirez Arellano from Cortex and Jose Gomez from Laborers. It will be at the Missouri Athletic, it'll be at the MAC from 6 to 8 p.m.
Any further announcements? Alderman from the 3rd.
Thank you, Madam President, and my apologies if I'm doubling up on some of these announcements, but this afternoon, Dutchtown Opportunity Coalition for Youth will be at Amberg Park at 3 p.m. this afternoon. There's also a fundraising event this evening for the St. Louis Art Place Initiative, which has been providing affordable housing to local artists in the Gravois Park and Dutchtown neighborhoods. That event is at the Zach Theater on Locust Street at 6 p.m. tonight. And this weekend, it's a very busy weekend. I'm sure most of you guys are getting invites everywhere, but if you have the opportunity or feeling well and want to enjoy the weather, Tower Grove Pride is happening this weekend, and I will be trying to stop by as long as my health allows me around 11 o'clock tomorrow. There's also an AFGE Local 96 Union picnic taking place in Forest Park at noon tomorrow. So as we've talked many times today about supporting our union brethren, that's also an awesome opportunity to get together and connect with them as well on a personal level. The Greater St. Louis Hispanic Festival is taking place tomorrow in Soulard as well at 3. And the Human Rights Campaign, which is the nation's largest LGBTQIA advocacy organization. They do a lot of work across the country, both at the federal, state, and local levels. Has their annual gala event tomorrow evening at 5:30 downtown at the Sheraton Hotel. And an event that I always enjoy in Dutchtown, we have our summer movie nights that take place. This is, I believe, we're coming up on some of the last movie nights in Dutchtown. But tomorrow is a personal favorite, Black Panther Wakanda Forever will be playing in the Neighborhood Innovation Center parking lot at Merrimack and Compton. And then, of course, next week, before our next week's meeting, Mount Pleasant Neighborhood Association is meeting on Wednesday, and there's a Carondelet Neighborhood Association meeting that's taking place Wednesday evening as well.
Alderwoman from the 1st.
Lots going on in our neighborhoods right now. Wow. So this week is National Diaper Need Awareness Week as well. So 1 in 2 or 1 in 3 families experience some sort of diaper insecurity. So we're doing a drive for diapers at the Board of Aldermen. There are boxes outside of the Board of Aldermen's office right now. Please, if you have any ability to donate any diapers, we did a drive for period supplies a few months ago, and the City of St. Louis folks did above their goal of 1,000 products and actually did about 1,300. So hoping we can do just as well with diapers. If you have any ability to donate, please do. The boxes are outside the Board of Aldermen offices in City Hall. Thank you.
Alderman from the 14th.
one last thing, and then I promise we'll get on out of here. Even though it's in the 8th Ward, me and my Alderwoman from Alderwoman Spencer are like downtown buddies at the Dome. Tomorrow, our Mizzou Tigers are in the building. M-I-Z? Okay, I had to make sure y'all was ready for it. They'll be downtown playing, and there's still tickets for people to be able to get, so please make sure you come out and support our Mizzou Tigers.
Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 8th.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. For the record, I have 13 neighborhoods.
Oh.
Yes.
They only show on the,
No, I
online, you have 12.
There are 13 in the 8th Ward, one of which, Soulard, is hosting a Hispanic festival this weekend. It's already in full swing. I rode by it on my way here. Be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Soulard Park, which is right adjacent to the Soulard Market. So come down and there's excellent food. It smelled incredible when I went by. And of course, you can go shopping at the Soulard Market as well this weekend.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Just want to reiterate, we are having committee of the whole to provide an initial discussion on the RAM settlement funds on Monday evening at 6 p.m. I think it's really important that the entirety of the board is involved in these discussions from the very beginning. This meeting in particular will be focusing on kind of the process or the timeline for the process that we see ourselves going through, and also providing some input from the public on your expectations for us and what you would like to see from the Board of Aldermen and city government in terms of public engagement throughout this process. So there will be public testimony taken on that issue. Second thing I would like to announce, I know that there's a lot of issue amongst members of the board to go to the UAW rally and strike this weekend. On Sunday, there is a rally at 3 p.m. that Congresswoman Cori Bush and Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez will be headlining. We are invited to attend, so any members of the board or members of staff who wish to attend, please meet at the City Hall parking lot at 2 p.m. 2 p.m. on Sunday, and we can caravan out there together. The UAW is asking for water and for non-perishable food items to add to their food bank. So even if you can't come, if you want to drop off some food or water for those of us who are going out there to take, we're happy to do that as well. All right, Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to excuse.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, all members were present this morning.
Good job. Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I move that we adjourn until Friday, September 29th, 2023 at 1520 Market, second floor, conference room at 10 p.m.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 5th, that we adjourn until Friday, September 29th, 2023 at 1520 Market, second floor at 10 a.m. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carries. We are adjourned.